Let's see here. I wonder how long it'll take to go live this time. All right. I think we're good. Let's just, we'll wait and see, of course. Been a while, huh? Yeah, everything's looking good so far. We'll wait though, give people a few minutes. I haven't connected in like 5 months. It's been just about 5 months since we did our last live stream. And sometimes when you have a long break, it may not happen this time. It seems to be going okay, but sometimes you have to reset the stream key. And I'm thinking maybe that is what's happening. Okay. Oh no, I am here. So we're good. Like I said, it's been a while. So now I have some confirmation, and not everything is exactly the same as it used to be. So it was a little confusing. But I'm glad to be back. So in any case, before we get to the 3 main subjects I put on the thumbnail, I'll try to, or I will, and I'll go back to the other God Jah discussion shows we've had, and I'll label those with the primary topics that are discussed. Make it a little bit easier for you to kind of scroll through and find stuff, So I put those 3 on there because they were 3 of the topics that covered a lot of the things that were requested. Now, obviously, there's more. People wanted to talk about more, and I haven't been here in a while. So I'm going to be back. I have maybe 2 to 3 weeks where I have a schedule that will allow me to do live streams. Otherwise, I've been very busy. So I will be back this Sunday, okay? Be back this Sunday for another live stream. And this Sunday, we're going to talk about arguments for the existence of God, okay? So we'll get into a little philosophy, a little science, logic. I'll answer your questions about the subject. I'll present my arguments. And also we will talk about, how as Christians we are to meet together, and ways that we, gotta get my camera all set here, huh? Make sure I get it right. As soon as you mess with these things though, right? Then they're never, I think I got it. So we'll talk about Christian association and fellowship and things. We've discussed before, but that, we can all use more reminders. I know it's not always easy to just keep going on your own or with a few people. It's much easier to gravitate toward people who, believe, whether it's in God, Jesus, the Bible, even if they're just not the same in terms of our beliefs. Of course, our 3 main beliefs: one God the Father, the biblical God Jah. That's his least disputed name in terms of the anglicized form from the Hebrew Yah, consistent with Greek and Aramaic, the 3 biblical languages. And of course, I also believe that his name was originally pronounced Yah'ol. So, but we use Jah, Yah, because it's the least disputed, and we're not trying to create issues about the divine name. We just go with the best available reasons, the evidence that we have. And we've discussed that before. I'm sure it'll come up again. But we believe in one God the Father, no Trinity. Okay, we'll talk about that today more. And I've discussed it, obviously, before. And we believe in Jesus, the sent forth Savior, the one foretold from of old, who would come and, in our view, redeem humankind from Adam and Eve's fall. So we accept Jesus as a pre-existent being, the Son of God, the firstborn, the only begotten God, only begotten Son, same thing. Sons of God are gods in the Bible that don't break Scripture. Jesus himself taught that. John 10, 27 through 36. It's very clear. We don't miss anything, in the Bible. But we have a lot of other groups who overshadow us, right? Make it hard for us to present what the Bible teaches, and who question, in fact, why we even have the Bible that we teach. So we're going to talk about the Bible and the canon in a moment and explain very clearly that these people don't know what they're talking about. And it'd be nice to talk to some of them. A lot of them seem, intelligent and have things to offer, and they're obviously committed. I think a lot of people in different groups, Christian groups particularly in this case, are committed to what they believe. And I don't think they're all insincere or liars, intentionally. I do think they teach a lot of false doctrine. But for us, false doctrine can be pretty much, anything beyond what is written, okay? It's that easy, but if it's not explicit and consistent with what is written, see, what is written means it's right there, You know how when Jesus responded to the devil when his life was on the line and his father's integrity was on the line, and whether or not he would cross the line and worship the spiritual pig, what did he do? Right, he said, "It is written, get out of here, you kook," right? Right, you see it right there? Yeah, it's right there. You quoted something that was there, but you missed right here. Yeah, so the two together, they're both written. And when you combine them both, you can't miss what's written, right? How come they all missed that? Right, must be because they're following the one who always missed that. When he was talking to the one who never missed it and combined it with the one who was missing, gave us all of it, right? So now we have it. We can see it very clearly. Did they always have it? Do they see very clearly? Again, let me ask you a question. What is written, right? Just ask that question. Excuse me. Yeah. Where's that written? Okay. Yeah. Maybe it is. Maybe we'll have to discuss it in its historical and linguistic context according to what it could possibly mean. Right. We use logic. We use principles of philosophy that are consistent with what we can see and what actually exists, not what we want to be, not what we lie about exists, right? We draw conclusions, we draw inferences from evidence, best available. That's our preference. Any one of you have anything else you want to choose, right? Just what are you all choosing out there if it's not the best available evidence? Well, it's probably your authority, right? Yeah, you've come to accept your authority. Your authority is your new best evidence. Sounds like someone who speaks from his own originality, doesn't it? Yeah, because if you had evidence, it'd be the same evidence. The evidence we're pointing to, it's written. Right there. So once we go beyond that and we're no longer there, what's written, we got a problem. Yeah, because for what reason could there be for people to create a problem with the body of Christ? Why do we have so much division? Right? Why are the major religions lying to everybody about God, about Jesus, about the Bible, about history? I find it very interesting that they don't go based on what's written, and they claim a lineage to people who taught, do not go beyond what is written. So we're going to get into that a little bit more when we get into the Trinity, but we're going to get into the Bible and the canon, why we have the Bible, what these groups are all missing, right? But it's good to be back, and never forget that if it's not written, we got a problem, right? To me, we got a problem. Why isn't it written? You're insisting on it. It's not written. Interesting. The things we believe. I already said one God the Father. I already said Jesus sent for Savior. Golden rule, number 3. If you're like me, those are the 3. You say you have to believe to be a Christian. Yeah, there are other things. We believe other things, but they're not connected with life by the master the way those three are. So those are the three we say, those are never have changed, never will change. Right, we've had a lot of weeds. We've had a lot of fake Christians. And they're not hard to see. But they're really good at making us hard to see, aren't they? And that is what you have to remember. That's what is happening, right? If you're like me, you also see this as a war. But we also have to live normally, right? We don't have to go around in ways that make us paranoid or concerned. We're not here to engage others in ongoing argumentation, right? What does the New Testament say? What does Paul say in Philippians? Do everything apart from arguing. Yes, we do need to do it. Special occasions, right? Take down a fat pig, blasphemes God the Father nonstop, and whose own people who promoted him for no reason still can't get him to stop, huh? I'll give you credit for that, Sam. You destroyed them. I could see it happening too. I just didn't think it would be that easy. Good for you. I don't rely on them. That's not my team. So, in any case, we're talking about fake Christians, weren't we? Liars. People who go beyond what's written. And then they say to us, well, hey, why do you have what's written? Who'd you get that from? What church gave you that Bible, right? Do we owe them something for this Bible? I have a whole bunch of them on my shelf right there. We're going to be using online stuff, so I'm not using them right here. Although I do have 1 Corinthians textually. We'll get into that right here. We're going to be getting into a lot of good Trinity stuff. We'll be playing a clip of God Logic, Jay Dyer, someone else on issues. In fact, we'll use them to transition from our Bible and Canon discussion right into the Trinity, okay? So we got a lot to talk about. I hope you're all ready. Good to see you. We'll be back Sunday. As I told you before, it's been about 5 months. I had a lot to do. I just finished a full year of Greek, university level, and Latin. And I have a lot more coming up. So for the next 2 to 3 years, probably 3, schedule-wise, I'm going to take summers off. Probably. We'll see. But I'm in full, heavy Greek and Latin. And oh, let me tell you what's been happening. Oh, yeah. No, I've got a lot of good people around me, and I'm doing some really important work. And believe me when I tell you, you need to get to work. I want you guys to stay focused, right? We can't get everything done right away. No, let these people have their day, right? Let them enjoy the spotlight a little bit more, right? Let Watchtower go through its final stages a little bit more. A lot is happening, right? It's not about YouTube, right? It's good, and I'm glad we have it, and we did some good work here, and I got more to do. But believe me when I tell you, the majority of work is happening off YouTube with real people, not just my education and training and my writings. I got all working my way through Psalms. If you don't have Proverbs, I don't know what to tell you. And I have a very important book on the Trinity that I hope to have ready by the end of this year, of next year. So Psalms is going to take me a while, but I'm working my way through it. So this recent Greek and Latin work, of course, is in addition to the Greek and Hebrew work I did years ago. So I'm back in full higher education mode, and I am pushing hard into heavy Greek and Latin language stuff. So this is all going to be very good for us and for, I think, everybody in general, because we're here to teach the truth. We're not here to just repeat lies for our own benefit. I don't do this for money. right? I don't get popularity. In fact, most people don't really like us, right? We don't get credit from Watchtower people. They hate us, think we're apostates. They want us to join there because of the Trinity and all that stuff, but they just want us to fall Watchtower, right? Well, whereas we're like, hey, you could join us and have all of the clear biblical teachings that'll never change and never have changed. Can't take Watchtower with you, though. No, you got to leave them there, right there. And everybody else with them who doesn't want to leave there because they're too scared. And let me tell you, I know it's hard. We're going to talk about later, right? It's our final discussion, Watchtower. End times discussion. Okay? So I'm just giving you guys, I'm pumping you up. This stuff's coming. It's all today, right? We got a few hours here. What's that? Yeah. No, we're going to do a few hours here. We're going to cover the Bible and canon issues. We're going to cover the Trinity. And we're going to talk about Watchtower. Okay? Really important stuff. I'll try to keep it condensed, but hey, I was watching some of my stuff recently, comparing it to other people's stuff. There's no comparison, okay? There is almost no comparison when you look at the content and the connected information in what we present here and these other lames and false teachers. There's some decent people out there. I'm not talking about everybody. But you know what I'm talking about, right? And there are people who aren't even close to how we talk and what we talk about. They don't like us, but they watch us. They know. And if they don't, I don't care. I just want you to know. I want your kids to know. I'm looking out for the future, right? We're going to praise God and honor Jesus right now, but this is for the future. Let's get this thing ready, everybody. We got plenty of time. Don't get panicked. We don't serve because of the times. That day will come anytime. I'm ready. Are you ready? If you're not ready, you better get ready because it come anytime. We don't need other people telling us anything else about times and seasons. That's literally from the Bible. So, yet they do it anyway, right? We'll get to it. Third part of our show. Now, we're going to get into the Bible and the canon, right? So, okay, let's see. I was pumped up. We got things happening. We're moving, right? All this stuff, I know. But it's like I never left, right? And what I tell you, I said these people won't progress at all. They'll be doing the same stuff 10 years from now. So we're just doing a 5-month check, right? No, we got a lot to talk about. We got more to do, but there's so much happening, you know? And I want you guys to remember, we'll talk about this more Sunday. Remember Sunday, we're going to talk about more congregational fellowship things and God, God's existence, science, philosophy, law, all that stuff, right? Everything that would relate to arguments about the existence of God. And so, maybe we'll add a third. We'll see. I'll put it on the next thumbnail so you can see it'll be the same type of show, but just different subjects. Try to give you as much as I can while I can, okay? But believe me, this is not easy to do the kind of work I'm doing. Right? Doing advanced Greek and Latin studies is very demanding. This is not me just bailing. It's great, but it is to succeed, I have to really give my best, okay? You cannot just halfway this kind of stuff. So, nevertheless, things are, moving very well. And now I'm locked in, okay? I just got more to go, more to do, but I have time for you. So I want to give you what I can. I'll be back Sunday, and then I'm thinking, I was watching my, in fact, we'll start with that. We're going to start with Athanasius. How about that? Sam. Sam really loves Athanasius. He does, and he's kind of like him, right? If you know anything about Athanasius, he's a pervert, right? He didn't want women. He wouldn't let women into public affairs. He wouldn't let them involved in the management of public affairs. I talked about it in my like 6-part series so far. I'm going to get back to it, though, is what I'm getting at. So, and he features in the star of our show. And before I bring him up, I'm thinking, because I've got like 2 to 3 weeks of just pure time, okay? And so I'm gonna give you Sunday another CW Jah live discussion, and then during the week, okay, next week, I'm gonna go back and do a read and refute on Athanasius, the incarnation of the Word. I'm gonna pick up where we left off. I was looking at that. I thought, we need to get back to this and at least finish the incarnation on the word, right? Incarnation of the word. I'm sorry. So we're going to do that. And then, so I'll see, maybe we can finish the whole incarnation on the word. And then, I'll probably do one or two more of these shows before I have to give back my schedule to my advanced studies and work. But I'll try to put up some clips and do things. And then in the summer next year, I'm planning to take that totally off. So that'll give me a couple months to also do some more stuff here. But just know over the next basically 3 years, I'm going to have a very busy schedule. And you don't really need me up here all the time, right? We've got a ton of videos covering a lot of stuff. While they're not the newest, they still contain the basic information, right? They present what is written and evidences that go to support it. So it's all very useful. And yes, we can always do better, and I will when I have time. But right now, let me get a lot of other things done, give you what I can. You keep using your time, right? You got to stay focused. Okay, you're not going to have this big association, not if you're like me. It just isn't going to be a part of what we do. Maybe, right? Maybe a few of you, we'll talk about this more later and Sunday, can kind of leave Watchtower together, right? But I wouldn't put my hope too much, I'll talk about it later tonight, third part, in Watchtower people, right? They're not Christians. Some of them are really nice people, but they don't partake. They don't really understand what's going on in that way. It's kind of weird to them. Now, some are seeing what's going on, and I think that's the Father working on them and drawing them close, right, to the Son, and then they'll be able to partake with him and them, with both of them and them with us. So that, though, if you have like a few people together who are like that, and you can kind of make this change together, then it won't be as hard, right? You'll have us, right? Remember, when I first left Watchtower, like after 3 dissertations, or right before that as it was coming, after JWD2, really, right, when I started to realize the blood issue was not resolvable by the Bible, the way they were enforcing it, it was much more difficult then, right? You had a lot of former witnesses, but they were mostly Trinitarian or just apostates, right? They're evolutionists, pagans. And so you didn't have anyone like me out here praising Jah and fighting for these 3 things apart from Watchtower and just going at it, right? Plus, I have my experience with Watchtower and the debates I did to stand up for our actual beliefs, which are still the same, but we don't accept Watchtower as who they claim. So it's a good transition to use me from them because I'm the one, not them, who stood up for our God, who stood up for our Messiah, and who is still standing for both of them, plus the golden rule that he laid down apart from Watchtower and all their false doctrine, right? Who's staying up to Fat Sam and all these pigs and perverts? Me. Does that make me a better person? No, it's just reality. So stop looking at Watchtower. Look at what's really happening. Look at where you can fit into that. We'll talk about it more in the third part of the show and Sunday. Let's go. Okay. Oh man, I knew it would happen. See, I'm pumped up. This is all going to happen. Let's get Athanasius on here. We brought him up. We're going to get back to him this week. Let's finish him off on the incarnation of the word. He blows it completely. Now let's transition to the Bible and the canon. Actually, I should check the perv out. Forgot. This happens. We have people, and we get different people, and they go insane sometimes. So I'm going to do a little check here just so we don't have like a crazy insanity level. Josh, good to see you, and thanks for showing up to confirm the activity. Good to see you, Betsy. Very nice. Unfinished Mystery 1914. Good to see you. Chris Silvera, it looks like. Good to see you. Cypher, good to see you. Quest for the Christ, good to see you. Rani Kalakalar, good to see you. Some of these are a little hard to pronounce or see. I apologize. You're all wishing me good. It's good to see you guys. There's check Perv out though. Prago Truth, good to see you. Bankhead on fire. What else we got here? So we have a perv out with Halligerson saying I put ads on my videos, which isn't really his business anyway, right? He's a fag and a pig. Plus, he doesn't realize YouTube will put ads on our videos no matter what. So Halligerson 3 or S2993-299, probably Sam, right? Just a pig-faced fatso and a blimp who has no business coming to our channel, but he has no life, right? Out of here. He's blimped, right? That's what I say about Sam now, right? He's blimped. Right? If he's blimped, he's blimping. He's getting fat. He's like this pig-faced fatso, can't stop eating now. What a pervert. Patrick Bet David called him an animal when he asked what he thought about him, right? No clear compliment at all. That bothered Sam more than anything, I guarantee it. All right, so Sam or one of his little fag friends came here to get slammed and show they have no life. These guys are queers, everybody. I guarantee you, if you're with Sam, you're gone, right? And we just recently realized that Sam obviously has massive problems. Sodomy came up as well, right? These people are crazy, everyone. I told you. Did I tell you? You know how proud I am that before all of this recent insanity that for an inexplicable reason was kept under wraps for a decade or so? Oh, it's such a catastrophe. I'm so happy that I stood up to this pig-faced blasphemous. You know, I just don't think most of you really care about the Father. And I don't care because I do. And that's why I stood up to this pig face. Look at him. This guy's one of the worst people you could imagine. He's even worse than we imagined or knew before we knew what we only imagined. Now we know. Right, so this guy's gone. What's going on? These people are crazy, that's what. So never think for any sec. These guys are gone, right? They're surrounded by idols, icons, false doctrine, lies. They don't even know God's name. They lie about his nature, lie about his identity, lie about his word. They use a pig, a fatso, and a blimp to blaspheme our Father and our God. Are you crazy? You got to be kidding me. You couldn't possibly be a Christian if you tolerate for that for 2 seconds. Don't you dare defend a pig. Of course, you might be with Watchtower and you're so limp dick. You can't even stand up to proven liars because they're nice to you. Oh, they're so nice to me. And they're just so nice. Oh, guess what? No one's good. How nice is that? Did you read that text? Where's the text that says they're just so nice? They have to have it. No, they don't have it. And it's really easy to see. Unless you're blind. Like most people. So if you see, then you see like me. We can't get the blind to see, okay? It doesn't matter. They don't care. Most of these people are Sam and his fag friends anyway. They just follow up with you with a fake name and pretend to be somebody who cares. Oh, I can't believe he's so mean. He called out a fat masturbating pig who beats women and punches them in the face. You fat ass pig. I'm so glad you got punched in your face when you got smacked out of heaven. You fat ass piece of shit. I can't believe you all sucked his dick. Let's talk about the Bible and the canon. I cannot believe you tolerated that piece of shit. Don't you dare not stand behind me when I get out in front of the army and slaughter a pig who's taunting the army, or I'll slaughter you figuratively. You pieces of shit weaklings. Why don't you go stand up to Watchtower? You can't, right? Limp dicks, or none at all. And yet you keep gossiping like little bitches. Why don't you go feed the poor and the lowly? Have you read those texts? How many of you have washed each other's feet? Did you forget that text? See, I don't think you're really a Christian like me. If you were, none of that would apply to you. You would be doing what I'm doing. You would be outraged. You would be following what is written. You wouldn't let people deceive you so easily. No Christian is deceived that easily. Unless you're just a baby. We'll talk about you babies on Sunday. Don't you worry. All right. Now, let's get to the canon, okay? Hopefully I've made myself clear on what we do here. And if you're not ready for that, out of here. We're not here for the weak. Oh, he's so angry. The Bible says don't follow or listen to a man who's given to anger. Oh. Yeah, I bet you Jesus was pretty angry when he threw over those tables, got the whip, and beat their asses out of that temple, selling and disgracing his Father. And I'm not even using a whip, except that of my tongue, for this piece of shit. I answer to the master, like you. So you better shut your face and let me take down this pig, or you're going to have to explain why you got in the way of a piece of shit who, while being a Christian minister, do you know how Sam met his wife? He got her to leave her current husband or boyfriend. I forget which. He admitted it in the video about his small dick. Yeah, and then so the same thing happened to him and he freaks out. But before that, he freaked out. Why the hell are you guys listening to this piece of shit? Why was he ever promoted in the first place? Why was he allowed to be used by people who knew all this stuff for so long? What the hell is going on? I will say this. I've come to appreciate apostate prophet. Sam, you are a bastard. You are a son of Satan. That was funny. Now, what's not funny is when we allow this shit to go on. Okay? And then you don't have the courage to get behind the one who stands up to these fags and pigs. Why do you think we have the world we do? Because we don't have courage. None of it. Could any of you walk in the temple and throw over money-changing temples and whip the people out of there? Ask yourself that question. Would you be angry doing it? Ask yourself that question. Oh, but the Bible says don't associate with someone given to anger. Yeah, you're just like Satan. You read half of it. I just gave you the other half. Piece of shit. I can't believe how low quality so many of you are. You better get your head out of your ass right now. And if this isn't working, I don't know what will. Because the other stuff didn't work very well, did it? This pig-faced fatso's still going strong, and he's stronger than ever. And you guys only care about what? Rereading the same Bible you've read because you can't figure it out at all, no matter how many times you read it? Let me handle what I do. Let's see if you can handle you. I don't think most of you can. Now, we'll see if we can get rid of any other fags and queers. We got all these fags here. Toledo Wasi just shoved a dick right up his ass, right? What a fag. I've seen queers before, but this guy, he just sodomized himself in public. Holy cow. Anyway, so a lot of you guys are very weak. And if you don't get your shit together real fast, it's just going to be me who speaks. I didn't see anyone getting up, taking over the mantle, and I was watching, waiting to see If any of you actually cared and would get up and do what you said you believe. Was not impressed at all. It was pretty pathetic, actually. I'm working for the next generation, though, so it won't really matter. I'm glad you guys are benefiting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here for you. If I was here for you, I wouldn't have debated White. I wouldn't have debated Bowman. I wouldn't have been translating the Bible. I wouldn't be smashing fat-ass pigs and standing up to them, no matter how long it took me. Whereas it took a whole group of his former associates, what, less than a week to crap themselves and fall out? Give me a break. You guys don't even watch what's happening. I think most of you are probably psychologically screwed. Like I said, how many of you do the things I just listed for you? I'm going to guess none. What does that say? You know who calls me and asks, hey, how can we help the poor and the lowly today? How about a double donut, okay? That's how I know most of you are not Christian. What does the text say? All right, let's look at another non-Christian. Athanasius, the misogynist and false teacher and overall just real idiot, right? If you have my Proverbs translation and you look in the appendix, you know I talk about him and show he's an idiot. He's really not a good teacher at all. Most of these guys are pretty stupid. You know, Sam and William, because they're fat pigs, they like to say we're not good enough to wash these guys' toilets, right? Yeah, these guys aren't good enough to have toilets. These are weeds. They're false teachers and they're liars. And look at how many people they have deceived. Why are you guys honoring these people? These are weeds. They're apostates, just like the people that quote them. Now, let's look at this apostate. Athanasius the clown against the heathen. Very opening. The knowledge of our religion of the truth of things is independently manifest. Let's make it a little bigger. Rather than in need of human teachers. And yet, it seems like that's all these people want to throw at us, right? Do they just give us a copy of the Bible? Do they just say you need 3 things? No, we need all these human teachers. For almost day by day, it asserts itself by facts and manifests itself brighter than the sun by the doctrine of Christ. Still, as you nevertheless desire to hear about it, Macarius, come, let us, as we may be able to set forth a few points of faith, of the faith of Christ. Able though you are to find it out from the divine oracles, but yet generously desiring to hear from others as well. For although the sacred and inspired scriptures are sufficient, meaning they're enough, okay, to declare the truth, while there are other works of our blessed teachers compiled for this purpose, if he meet with which a man will gain some knowledge of the interpretation of the scriptures, and also be able to learn what he wishes to know, still, as we have not at present in our hands the compositions of our teachers, we must communicate in writing to you what we have learned from them. Did you catch that? Look at it again. The truth-inspired scriptures are enough. There are other works of their blessed teachers compiled for this purpose. And if you meet with the man who is of such a blessed teacher, you will gain some knowledge of the interpretation of the scriptures and be able to learn what you wish to know. But they don't have them. Talking about the teachers, the fathers will probably, the people between the New Testament and Athanasius. So we can see early on, all right, early 4th century, we have Athanasius saying the scriptures are enough, but that there are others, teachers, who will give you knowledge, the interpretation of the scriptures, and tell you what you need to know. But he doesn't have them in his hands. It's only what he has learned from them, like orally, we'll have to say. Or maybe he read them at a certain place and he couldn't take them with him, right? There are a lot of things that we assume or don't realize about early times is there wasn't this vast number of complete texts, let alone compilations of texts that everybody carried around. Okay, you did have depositories or places where you could read the text like you did with the Jews. So there were Christians who collected texts, and of course in the New Testament we were told that they carried on the teachings of the apostles and that they had the scriptures. So what I want to point out, though, foundationally on this whole canon issue is that Athanasius in the early 4th century is citing the scriptures as sufficient, but saying that to interpret them, to find out what you need to know from these blessed teachers, that's who you ask, but we don't have their stuff, okay? It wasn't so available, these fathers, that they had copies of them in their hands. He's telling you right here, he doesn't have them. So it's important to understand the kind of environment we're in, all right? That they are not like holding, like when we look at our shelf, we have copies of these texts, right? That's not what they had. Now, what about the Bible? What did they have? Okay, well, in the early 4th century, which is when Against the Heathen was written, right, before Nicaea. After Nicaea, like near the end of Athanasius' life, near the end of the 4th century, third quarter, like around 370, little before then, he issued like a list of New Testament books, which are basically the same 27 books that we use today as pretty much everybody who uses the New Testament. So, but that's not always been the case. Okay, and that was not the case. It wasn't the case that Athanasius' listing of 27 books, like around 370, was accepted by everybody. In fact, in Laodicea, several years before Athanasius gave his list, they had a list of 26 books that didn't include Revelation. So, and then before that, although it's questionable, right? Some date the Muratorian fragment differently, right? Some to the 2nd century, some as late as the 4th century. It's a Latin text, not in good condition, but it does have many of the same books that we use, not all of them. It also has some books like the Apocalypse of Peter, while also noting that it was not accepted by all, right? But it's included. Okay, so, and then you have different individuals, like Irenaeus even, accepting different books than Athanasius, and including among his, the Shepherd of Hermas. So, what I'm getting at, just to start, we have a lot more, is that when people talk about a Bible canon, I don't think they know what they're talking about, any of them, okay? Are they talking about any of the things I just mentioned? Or people like Origen? Now, keep in mind, Athanasius, when he compiled his list of the 27 New Testament books, we're not considering the Old Testament right now, right? It's his own separate question, but let's just stay on the New Testament. They're using what they think are the best books, the most credible, okay? That's what they're choosing. They're not choosing the books according to some official decree at this time by Athanasius or earlier than that. You had Constantine order collections of the texts of the Bible, but maybe we have a copy or two in Vaticanus or Sinaiticus. I doubt Alexandrinus is one, but maybe, right, of the 5th century, the other prior to in the 4th century. But they don't contain, in every case, the same Old Testament and New Testament books. So there is no canon, official, listing of books of the Bible among Christians anywhere before, even up till Athanasius. It's starting to happen, right? We have these fragments from as early as the 2nd century, maybe writers like Irenaeus, Origen, um, citing texts as standing out above others as part of the canon or a collection of inspired writings, right? This whole canon, right? This whole idea of a canon came about later, like 4th century really is when this concept of a canon, like an official collection of accepted writings, is not from the Bible. That's not a biblical concept or teaching. The Bible just uses the best available texts that are accepted initially orally as having been preserved by those who were inspired by God or used by Him to narrate the events as they happened with the people of God, or given information by inspiration or by divine beings like angels or God Himself through angels about events that took place that they didn't observe, right? Inspiration. That's why, for example, in 2 Peter, you have Peter referring to Paul's writings and the other scriptures, right? And I think that probably is meant to include Paul's writings in as the writings, right? As the inspired writings. But if that's the case, that's because Paul received his information by divine revelation. He says that several times. His, of course, conversion was divine, but he specifically says that he received from the Lord what he hands on to us, the things that happened with Jesus during the night before he was killed, or the night he was killed, which are the same as we read in the Gospels. So Peter, if he's referring to Paul and including his writings in the inspired sense of the Old Testament writings, he's doing it because Paul was inspired in a sense that was different, perhaps, than some of the other writings. So either way, there's nothing clear, right, other than Revelation, where it's very clear that John's receiving a revelation from God. He gives to Jesus, Jesus gives to the angels, and he gives it to John, who gives it to us. So if you believe in Revelation, then you believe that whole book is inspired, right? But outside of that and Paul's or other New Testament writers' direct claim of inspiration, people have a very strange concept, right? Like every single thing these guys wrote down was just inspired special words. No, that's not how this works. That's not how it ever worked. It was meant to work. They're divinely inspired men who are imperfect and who were inspired to write down the things that were necessary. Did they do that perfectly? Well, we don't really know, right? Does inspiration mean everything you write is grammatically and, semantically exactly the way it's supposed to be? It's not necessary to answer that question, but it doesn't seem like that would be necessary. Otherwise, we'd have a body of literature that was really unique, right? It stands out in its qualities and characteristics in those ways above everything else. But come to find out, they're just the people talking and narrating those events or things that they're told. Okay, so we put the New Testament in a special light because we're told in the New Testament. Right? A lot of this I'm just paraphrasing to save us time because we all know this. If you question any of it, just let me know and I'll give you the reference. In the book of Acts in particular, we're told that they carried on the teachings of the apostles. We have several examples where they meet together to resolve doctrinal issues. And they're resolved with the older men, the apostles who are available, and the Holy Spirit. Not with a pagan emperor, right? And people disagreeing, right? It's just so different from the dragons, councils, and creeds, right? Have nothing to do with them. That's blasphemy to associate all that apostasy with the truth of the Lamb. That's disgusting. You need a fat pig for that, right? So just getting back to, we're going to get into some more issues. We'll get to the J. Dyer and God Logic clip here in a second, right? So we know even in the early 4th century, Athanasius, they're looking to the scriptures, but also these other people, right? Athanasius compiles his list of New Testament texts, which matches ours, around 370, still not officially accepted. And there were several additional synods that went on to discuss the issue of the canon. It's not made an article of faith until the 16th century. The Eastern Orthodox Church don't weighing on the canonical issues until the 5th century at the earliest. And so, and we'll get to more on the Eastern Orthodox in a second here, especially with some recent events going on, and the J. Dyer and God Logic clip. So, just a few more things on the canon, though. Bring this up. And then we'll check the perv out. Okay, there's that. We got that. Okay, I have the God Logic clip right there. Oh yeah. Okay, so let me check the perv out real quick, because I know. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Don't get me wrong. I get fired up, right? They're talking about, I take this very personal, okay? I don't care if you're just here to clown around. You're just jerking off like with Watchtower. You're not a serious person, okay? I'm a serious person. Now, when I'm not dealing with people blaspheming the Father, I'm not that. I'm very nice and I have a great time and get along with everyone. Even people who totally disagree with me. Homosexuals, pagans, atheists, no problem ever. The only problem I have are with pig-faced fatzos who keep lying about the Bible and who attack me personally and who have for years, okay? So I don't need to hear it from you people. If you haven't stood up to Watchtower, you're not qualified to talk to me. Now, okay, yeah. So we're going to get into that. It looks like you guys are good, so no problems there. Okay, yeah. So let me get that writing. Let's go ahead and play the God Logic clip. Down that. I have this to read to you. I had it on my other one, but I had to download it over here. So that'll take place. So I'm going to bring up God Logic now. So I was watching, this wasn't going to initially factor into this part of the discussion, but when I saw it, I thought, you know what? This will be a good clip to use to kind of highlight what I'm talking about on this whole canon issue, and how it's not just an issue of what books, right? It's also an issue of what versions of those books, right? What are the readings in those books? They're not all the same books, even if they're the same book. Now remember, Athanasius said they didn't even have the fathers in their hands. So this idea, now whether he had the scriptures, right, at some point I'm sure they did or could get to them, that's not what I'm saying. My point is, they were more than happy to accept verbally what their teachers were telling them the Bible meant. That's exactly what Athanasius said in what I read to you earlier. If you don't believe me, reread it again. Just go watch it, read that section. It's exactly what he said. Find the truth in the scriptures. We have these blessed teachers. They'll tell you how to interpret it and what it means. We don't have their writings, but we learned from them. So this idea that you guys all had copies and weren't just learning this orally is a lie. That is an absolute lie, that somehow we owe you a copy of the Bible, or that it was even necessary. It wasn't necessary for the Jews. It wasn't necessary for the Christians. Paul even says people are a law to themselves. Don't even need to hear the good news if they are selected by God for that reason. But those who are, and who do hear it, we either hear it or we read it. Yes, it was eventually written down. Yes, it was written down even before there was this whole issue of the canon and an official list of documents by people who knew that those documents were written by the apostles, were the teachings of the apostles. Yes, they carried on those documents. They made an appropriate number of copies that served as the basis for these later copies in these canons. The idea of a canon, or having to have copies, is not biblical. That is not a requirement. It's not even necessary. It was often done orally, even all the way to the 4th century into Athanasius. So it's really, really strange when I hear some of you Orthodox and Catholics say, Yeah, that Bible you're using right there, or even these fathers, right? The idea that somehow we owe you for physical copies or that we needed them, that not hearing it orally would be enough. That's a lie. It wouldn't even be necessary to hear it if we have the right heart and mind, according to Paul. But hearing it would be enough even from you pagans, because just like me, I heard it from pagans and I found the truth. That's all it takes. Who had the text in the first century? Before the Christians, during the Christians, the Jews. Were they right? Do we owe them something? What? Okay, I thank you. Thank you for doing what you were supposed to do. Maintain God's word. Thank you. Next. What am I supposed to do? Do I change my doctrine for that? Should I start believing in the Trinity because you guys helped me get a copy of the Bible and I don't just have to hear it orally or go based on my heart and spirit? No, it's so stupid, isn't it? It's like one of the most idiotic attempts to make people join your religion I've ever heard. And when we look at your actual history and the fact that you guys were not using a uniform text, even until recently, right? Incredible. It's really incredible, right? Well, let's get to God Logic, Jay Dyer, and looks like someone, Fearless Truth here, who's with them. And we'll use this as kind of a springboard to finish off our textual issue discussion and then on into the Trinity, okay? Check it out. So let's see, where should I put myself? This is a clip I saw recently. This is from the, I guess, Orthodox videos. There's these different channels that put Jay Dyer clips. And this was one of them. So I think it's on the right spot. Let me just verify that.
Not in the Old Testament.
Well, so again, that's what I'm asking you.
Well,
Since
2 Corinthians 3 says he is. God Logic text right here.
Okay, I remember where it is now. Okay, listen carefully, okay?
Deity of Christ.
Okay, you're gonna have to prove that to me.
I have a question for you. This is 1 Corinthians, it's chapter 10, verse 9 here. And it says here that we must not put Christ to the test, as some of them did and were destroyed by serpents. When did the Israelites put Christ to the test and then as a result were killed by serpents?
Okay, so we have on the panel there at least two representatives of two of the main groups, right? God Logic, I believe, is basically a Protestant. Jay Dyer is Orthodox. So I don't really know the other people on there, but that's not my point. My point is this text, 1 Corinthians 10:9, that God Logic just read. Now, if you notice, there's a footnote next to the word Christ in verse 9 that he read. I don't know what it says. I don't even know what version he's absolutely reading because he didn't show it. And several use this translation with Christ in there, but not all of them. All you have to do is look at the Bible Hub or similar place, and you'll see many of them say Lord. And the Alexandrian Codex, I believe, says God. Now, so I have here Swanson's edition, which gives, in parallel form, a comparison of the readings, which is pretty easy to get. And you can see really clearly that the best witness to the reading that God Logic is presenting is P46, right? Basically, a late 2nd century text, possible early 3rd. And that's a good witness. Now, outside of P46, that's not that good. Now, there are some good other language version witnesses, including the Old Latin, I believe. that would be supportive of P46, but Vaticanus says Lord. Sinaiticus says Lord. Alexandrinus and another uncial, 2815, say God, like I said earlier. Let's see. Codex C, 5th century, Lord. Okay, so the 3, 4, if you count Codex C, 3, 4 main codices of Greek that a lot of people read and could be at least 2 of the texts ordered by Constantine say Lord. Okay, P46, some other language versions and some Byzantine texts say Christ. Now, God logic doesn't talk about any of that, right? Doesn't get into it at all. Now, maybe that's not his strong point, okay? It's not like he's making himself out to be a textual scholar. And I don't think J. Dyer does that either, okay? So I don't want to be too critical on that in terms of they should have known all this stuff. That's not my point. What I'm getting at is that both of them, we'll play more of it in a minute, are accepting a reading that is not the reading you're going to find in 3, 4, the 4 main codices of the 3rd and 4th centuries and 5th centuries, right? Vaticanus, Sinaiticus, Alexandrinus, Codex Syrio-Rescriptus, Codex C, right? It's a palimpsest, but it's a good text, witness. None of those say Christ, okay? Now, let me show you also in the Greek Orthodox tradition, right? The Greek Orthodox tradition is very interesting, right? I mean, they're basically a Byzantine text group, right? Like Textus Receptus. That's why they use the King James, New King James. They use basically Codex Vaticanus on the Septuagint. They use the Septuagint. They don't use the Hebrew text. Athanasius, he didn't know any Hebrew, admitted that. Okay, so he's creating a list of New Testament texts. They're not going to include any of the Hebrew Gospels that we all know existed and are said to have existed, but that we don't really have. So you're only going to get Greek text for sure with Athanasius. And so with the Greek Orthodox, it's the same. Now, in this case, we do have a reading like with P46 that is consistent with the Byzantine reading that the Greek Orthodox would use, but I'm not so sure, right? Because look, the Greek Orthodox Church, right, they only recently have really tried to create a text of the New Testament like the United Bible Societies or the Nestle-Aland, right? Texts that were, none of them were actually used, the texts that were used, but they're created from texts that were used. And in the case of the Greek Orthodox, right, their 1904 text that they issued is based basically on mostly 10th to 14th century Byzantine manuscripts. Okay? And then they're only really recently getting into a further, more detailed text like Elan and UBS, okay? But they do have, and they don't really have many English translations that would be considered authoritative, right? Catholics have more, it looks like. And so here, this is, though they have in the last 25 years or so done an English translation. It's the EOB New Testament. And it's also, they have another one I'll show you in a minute that has the Old Testament with it. So this was in 2007. See if I can make this a little bit. I'm going to leave it as it is now so it doesn't remove myself here. Yeah. Right. So this is their 2007 New Testament that the Greek Orthodox Church put out. Okay. So if we go to 1 Corinthians 10:9, you can get this easily online. It's no problem. We go to 1 Corinthians 10:9. That should be at 193. There it is, right? And it doesn't look like the exact same one God Logic had, but it doesn't have the footnote at least. So, but it's the same basic reading. Let us not put Christ to the test, right? Referring to the numbers account, which we'll get to in a moment, and why this is not a problem for us at all, right? But of course, for that Unitarian that God Logic was talking to, we'll get back to it. It probably would be a problem because of their whole pre-existence problem. But here, it's more of an issue I'm bringing up with the canon, right? Now, it's kind of an issue they should have known, right? It's not really fair. If they didn't know, then they haven't really studied that hard, right? I mean, I don't know how serious these guys are about these texts, but I am very dialed in on all the papyri, many language versions, including Armenian, Ethiopic, Coptic, right? I don't know all those languages well, but I'm familiar with the texts we have that represent the readings we rely on or that are compared with the Syriac, Latin, right? So I don't think these guys are very familiar with these things. I'm just doing all this on recall. This is stuff I've known for many years and could get into in much more detail anytime. Okay, so we can see that in this Greek Orthodox translation, what God Logic read is the same. Now, this is not it's kind of a hard call in one sense. People like Metzger and others we'll get to in a moment, others, they'll say that the reading Christ explains the other two readings better, the other two readings being Lord and God. I guess so, but it's also the case that Lord or God are more subject to interpretation in terms of someone who believes that Christ is the one who was there in the Old Testament, like I believe and like God Logic and J. Dyer believe. So that could also easily explain that. There's a lot more going on with these textual readings and issues than what you might read in just a commentary like Metzger. Either way, so we can see it right here, right? It's very important. You Greek Orthodox people, I want you to pay attention. This is in your 2007 New Testament. 1 Corinthians 10:9. You see that? Let us put Christ to the test. Pretty good, huh? You like that? Well, then why in your 2007 combined edition of the Old and New Testament, why does it say this? I'll have it lined up in a second. A little anticlimactic, right? Let's see, where is it? Right here. Sorry, I was a little offset. Let us not put the Lord to the test. You see that, Greek Orthodox people? The exact same year English translation that you guys are putting out has two different readings. Now, they happen to be the two best readings on record, although, again, Alexandrinus and at least one other uncial say God, and Alexandrinus is not nothing, but it's not, I wouldn't say that makes God better than Lord or Christ. Why are you guys doing this? I'd like to know. I'd like to know why the Greek Orthodox Church's English translation of 2007 in its complete Bible differs from its New Testament in 1 Corinthians 10:9. If someone could explain that to me, I would appreciate it, right? So we get these issues, right? We get these issues with variant readings and canonicity, and as we already discussed, there is nothing in the Bible that says we have to have a canon. We don't have to walk around with a New Testament of books and say, these are all inspired. To the extent that we can argue and find out that they are representative of the earliest New Testament apostles, if we're Christian, then we accept the best available witnesses to their doctrine. But those were carried on orally and in writing in a very minimal way for a long, long time. And the fact that later pagans did something the Bible doesn't say we have to do, namely gather these writings together so that people only view these as inspired. That's what you chose to do. That's what Athanasius chose to do. And people before him did in part in ways that don't match them. And you guys continue to argue about it for a century after him. And all the way up until the present time. In the Catholics' case, as an article of faith. And for Protestants, Westminster Confession, right? 16th century. No, that there has been no canon. You guys are all have differences. Many of you. That the other communion faiths have differences, right? The Syriac, as I mentioned, the Ethiopic, the Coptic, the Egyptian. They all have textual differences. What is this canon you speak of, right? It's not biblical, and you guys do not have a continuous lineage of accepted New Testament or Old Testament texts like you claim. You have various individuals putting different lists together, which include books or don't include books that are included now or not included now. And you have various synods and attempts to create a canon late in the 4th century, all the way into the 6th century and beyond. And you guys still differ with each other. The Greek Orthodox Church doesn't use the Hebrew Bible. There's all kinds of textual issues there. There's even book differences there with the Greek Septuagint collection of books and the Hebrew canon of books, the Jewish Hebrew canon of books that is accepted. So, or that, at least in our case, we can identify as based on the best available reasons. That's what we use. That's what they use too, by the way. They've just lied to everybody as if these different attempts to create something the Bible doesn't say we have to create obligate us to them in some way that I still can't figure out, because they don't feel obligated to the Jews who preceded them in the same way that they would have to, if not more, right? Because they literally were the keepers of the records that point to the Messiah. So I doubt you can get much better than that. And we still use them as text today, even you and your Greek texts, Septuagint. So, no, you don't feel like you owe the Jews anything, do you? And if you do, what do you owe them? You're going to change your doctrine for them? Right. No, you're not. So we won't either, okay? How about we'll change our doctrine for your... No, we won't actually. So forget it. We're not changing our doctrine for nothing but our doctrine. And our doctrine is either written or it's not. Your doctrine is either written or it's not. Did you know that? And it may not have even been written for a long time. Just like the Jews prior time. A lot of this was carried on orally and accurately and is just fine. Even Athanasius didn't have any copies of the teachers he was using to interpret the Bible with and have others do the same that he's writing to. So, how dare you guys come to us with this weak shit? Boom, out of here. Boom, drop kick, boom, right? You guys are finished. That's all you got? So don't try that here, okay? No, we're not these pathetic lambs that you guys frequently talk to who don't actually believe the Bible and who don't understand that God is our Father, not yours. All right. So I think, let's get back to God logic real quick, right? So I pointed that out, the Greek Orthodox Bible, that's something we got to look at. Let's just look at, we're going to use this to transition to the Trinity. Are you ready? All right, first though, quick check for the people, right? We have people who perv out, so we're going to talk to them. Let's see. Let me just check real quick here. Let me just make sure no one's having a breakdown. Okay, good. Let's see. Good. Hey, Quest for the Christ, good job. That's what you should be using, the War Scroll. Right. We may not view them as canon, but they tell us about the Jews who were living prior to and during Jesus' time, don't they? And how were they viewing Michael? Exactly, right? These guys never bring up Michael and his significance in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'll get to it another time, and I know all about it. So if I get in front of these guys, trust me, it's going to be a smoke show. I doubt they know any of it. I know it all. Okay, I just don't talk about it because you brought it up though, so I noticed it. Good job, Quest for Christ. That's where you need to take them. They're clueless on that stuff. And it's literally part of the preceding and existing environment of the first century, right? Not these later fathers or Philo, right? We'll get to more of him later too. He's going to be a big part of something I'm doing. And we're going to finish these people once and for all. That's really what they're doing. We'll get to it more in a minute, but they're just utilizing this Middle Platonism stuff. And then from there, creating these different permutations with Jesus and their Logos theology. It's all non-biblical though, right? They're not using the Bible. They're pagans, everybody. Trust me. It's over. All right, let's talk about God logic a little bit more. Let me bring him on here. And then we'll get to right into the Trinity right now. Where is he? Here, 1 second. Okay, good. Right. Okay, so let's just hear a little bit more what these guys had to say.
I remember when they put Christ to the test and were killed by serpents.
Mm-hmm. You know what this is?
Would that be a reference to something that happened in the New Testament or the Old Testament?
It's the book of Numbers. So you're not even familiar
okay.
You're not even familiar with the Bible.
No, I am. Okay, that's
no, you're not, because you would know that that's the book of Numbers.
Well, here's the problem. I knew Numbers. You know,
the problem is with you. The problem is not
the rod. Just it's like John 3:14. Just as Moses lifted the rod, and you know.
My bad. I wasn't showing them, but you heard it right, so I'll show it now.
Healed the people from the serpent.
Yeah, so right here. So when did they put Christ to the test, and then as a result, we're destroying the serpent?
The problem I had, I did not know that was a reference to Numbers. The problem I would have with that is that Christ was not.
That you don't know the Bible.
Well, Christ was not in the Old Testament.
Well, so again, that's why I'm asking you.
Well,
since
2 Corinthians 3 says he is. God logic text right here says he is.
Yep, this is why I'm asking you. If you're saying that Christ was not in the Old Testament, what is Paul talking about when he says that as some of the Israelites put...
Okay, we heard we need to hear, right? Now, they're only pointing to the reading of Christ here, though, right? Even though they're on the Greek Orthodox English translation anyway, it has both readings, but certainly the manuscript evidence overall, if this was something they're familiar with, they should have presented. But maybe they just didn't realize it, and they kind of assumed that what God Logic pulled up was legit. So anyway, and they did hammer that guy, right? They destroyed him. So we have to give him credit for that, because the guy clearly didn't know what he was talking about, and he doesn't understand Christ in the Old Testament. Either way, so they brought up, this question of how, right? How does this happen? How's Christ being tested in the Old Testament? So they're using this account from 1 Corinthians 10, which is quoted from the book of Numbers, right? But what they don't bring up, and that if you don't bring up and explain in association with anything going on, right? From Exodus 20 forward, but even before that in many cases, right? Because it's always an angel talking to these people, except for maybe in a case with God speaking to Adam or with Moses. It's unlikely though, right? Because Jesus says you've neither heard his voice nor seen his shape. They just read the Trinity into that. So that's just the person of the Father. No, it doesn't say that. You're just assuming the Trinity. The Father is God. There's no one else who's the one God but the Father. We'll get into that in a minute. So when it says no one has seen God, John 1:18, it doesn't say the Father there. It says God. There's only one God, right? Are you a monotheist? Okay. No one has seen him. Period. End of story. Whatever he is, no one. But we have seen the only begotten God. He's literally qualified in his Godship right there in John 1:18. The very text that says we haven't seen God. So you guys are gone. It's never happened. It's always a created angel representing him. He makes his angels spirits, flames of fire. Psalm 104, Hebrews 1. Yeah, that's it. They're all created spirits. That's why they appear in the burning bush. That's why in Acts 7 it says they're all angels talking to those people, when apart from the burning bush account, the other accounts in Acts 7 don't refer to angels. Like when they were transmitting the law, it says God gave them that. And other texts, including Galatians. So we know they knew those were angels, regardless of whether the Old Testament account says that. Because they're not stupid like you guys. No one can hear God and no one can see him. There is no Trinity. You can't prove nothing. It's not explicit, so you can't use it. You're just interpreting. And it's not an interpretation that's written, is it? So if it's not an interpretation that's written, and it's not a teaching that's written, and ours is, guess who wins? Because you don't go beyond what's written. Like us, pagans. All right. So now we know these are all angels. It says it all over the place in the Old Testament and the New, regardless of whether every single time God speaks through an angel, it says it's an angel, right? We know the Bible doesn't do that. It doesn't have to do that. It doesn't do it in Revelation when an angel does that. Okay, in 19 and 22. So you guys are through. And even speaking for God and Jesus, saying he's coming quickly. The angel that John is told not to worship, right? Directly speaking for God and Jesus, just like in the Old Testament. Okay, we've proven this. There's been no response. Hello? Hello? Hello, over here. Okay? All kinds of Angels of Jah videos. Are all of you too stupid to take issue with anything? Because I'm just waiting for you so I can smash you to pieces. I think you guys are stupid and weak in every category and way. Just like your fat masturbating pig that you all sucked dick on before he turned on you while I was beating his ass for you. And you're here with this fake God, huh? Okay, you're here with all these icons and statues and false doctrine. You gave us the Bible? Yeah? Huh? No. The apostles, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, God gave us the Bible, not you pigs. You guys could barely figure out what to do with it for what? 1,000 years or more, right? You still can't get your English translation right. You're still using inferior text. Are you crazy? Nobody thinks the Byzantine text is representative of the earliest Beck's texts in all critical readings. Okay, so where's the canon? Where's this canon that's going to give us these texts and books that all agree? We don't have that, and we don't need that. We can come up with the best available evidence and readings, and that's all we need. Okay? And we didn't even need that, according to Paul. And we certainly only needed to hear. What does Paul say? How will they hear without someone to teach? No. Yes, he does, right? So it's not just about having someone provide you with a written copy, and you don't claim the Jews are so special that you have to adopt their doctrine because they preserve the text you use. So it's just ridiculous in every way. They don't provide you with authority for your icons and statues and false doctrine, your fake God, your false God, your blasphemous God. And you put down the firstborn of all creation like pigs. I'm so sick of your shit. You guys use the stupidest arguments of all time. Your idiots, Athanasius, clown. He's an asshat. He was exiled 5 times. Like Sam. You guys can't even get rid of him once. It's unbelievable. The kind of pieces of shit you guys allow to teach this false doctrine, claiming you guys know about these texts, that you use some uniform canon, right? Wild stuff, man. So how do we explain this text in 1 Corinthians 10:9, everyone? What is God, Logic, J. Dyer, and this other clown missing? Other than everything else that they were missing, right? They're missing Exodus 23, if we want to get explicit. Let's go to it. Let's not dismiss it. Exodus 23. I'll bring it up over here. Let's go to the Bible Hub. All right. Exodus 23. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Okay, good. I'm glad I had my... For a minute, I wondered if I had you guys on mute. It's been a while, you know. So, all right. So these guys are just clueless, right? These are asshats, okay? They follow Philo, Middle Platonism. That's where they get their whole monarchianism, all of it. I'll talk about soon. Trust me. These guys are gone. The kind of stuff that they take from these people is ridiculous. And it contradicts everything in the Bible. They're not using the Bible. They're using Platonism to interpret the Bible and various permutations of it. Everybody knows this. They're just gone, okay? So you got to not listen to these queers. They're just using false doctrine. 23:20. Let me get over here. I'll just take myself off for a minute, right? So we can, let's see. Yeah. 23:20. Let's go to this mode. I like this mode. Okay. This is what they don't understand, right, everybody? They don't understand. There's an angel here, okay? There's an angel here speaking and acting as God, just like everywhere else in the Old Testament. And I mean everywhere. Just like in the New Testament. I mean everywhere. Why they don't understand it is because of their fake God and false doctrine and false Jesus. Behold, pagans, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey. What is it you guys don't understand about the account in Numbers in 1 Corinthians 10 again? Okay, if you're just trying to prove Jesus is an angel in the Old Testament to defeat that idiot Unitarian, no problem. They're perverts and pagans too. Probably worse than you, because they can't even see what's obvious. But you, at least see part of the obvious. And what about this? Why doesn't God Logic or J. Dyer or that other idiot ever say, oh, yeah, he's an angel. He's a spirit, a created spirit, just like Psalm 104 and Hebrews 1 says. So when God says, beware of him, obey his voice. Don't provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgressions. My name in him my name, not his name. You understand, pagans? This is the answer you idiots don't use. And when you use it, you Middle Platonists it, and you lose. Angels are created spirits that represent God whom no one has seen or can hear. God right here says he's sending an angel. Do you understand that? I mean, how stupid do these pagans have to be, right? This is God right here. I'm going to get in here because I like to look at you people, even though I can't see you. I send an angel. Okay, that's God. There is no multiple personalities or persons in God. You guys don't understand Hebrew plurals. You don't understand jack shit. That would be God's anyway, which you guys don't even get. God. Okay, the one God, the Father, right here. That's me. That's him. He sends an angel. Malach. He is not an angel. God is never an angel. He will never be an angel. He can't be an angel because he doesn't deliver anything for anyone else as a message. Messages are from him, perverts, and angels deliver those. He sends an angel to keep them in the way and to bring them to the place he has prepared. Beware of him. So who in Numbers is punishing the people that Paul's referring to? Exactly. The very angel God sent ahead of them. Are you stupid? Exactly. Who is this angel? Oh, well, what angel does Jude say is in this same area with these same people arguing over Moses' body with the devil? Michael. There is no other angel named in these events, you pigs. It says an angel. This is Michael. This is their prince, you pagans, you filthy liars, you despicable weeds. This is the great prince that you blaspheme. And he's being appointed to lead the way. And you better watch out for him. Just like Joshua found out when he approached him with his sword drawn. You listen to him, Yahweh says, and you obey his voice. You don't provoke him. Or what happens, Jay Dyer? What happens, God Logic? What happens, Fearless Truth Fag? Right, he's going to kill you. You understand? He's not going to pardon you. Because Yahweh's name, not the angel's name, is in him. They're not the same. They don't have the same name unless one puts it in him. That's why it's in him. It's his name, not his name. Just like we see given to the Jesus in the New Testament. Like we see prophesied about the Messiah in the Old Testament, Micah 5. Stand in the name of Yahweh, his God. Directly related in numerous descriptive ways to Proverbs 8 and wisdom. The Messiah who was from of old. Not eternal, you fags. Same terms used in Micah for from of old for humans. Micah 7, try reading it sometime, you pagan idiots who never learn jack shit. So we got to keep repeating it. All these kooks and lames, they just feel entertained. I just think you guys are blasphemous pigs. I love beating your ass for the Father and for the Son. But if indeed you obey his voice and you do all that I speak. Whose words are these? Hey, God Logic, who's talking here? Right, it's the angel because we can't hear God's voice, right? Right. So the angel's speaking, that's what they do. Whose words are they? Yeah, it's just like Jesus too. God is speaking through the enemy, the angel, to his enemies, their adversaries. You pigs. So anyone who tries to talk about Jesus in the Old Testament and doesn't explain in detail, God's using an angel, you idiots, all over the place, not just where I just showed you, but that shows you the accounts we're talking about involving the Israelites, Moses, Joshua. It's Michael. It's the one Jude names. There's no one else back here. There's no one else called the prince back here. There's no one else who's the prince of these very same people back here, God Logic. Who else could it be? Oh, is it a person of a Trinity that doesn't exist? No, you fag. It's Michael, the archangel that you blaspheme like pigs. I'm sick of your shit, and I will take down every one of you fags live anytime. I think you guys are disgusting, okay? I think you guys are ridiculous in almost every way. You don't know these texts. You don't know your history. You don't know the teaching of what is written. You know all this other shit that comes later and that you guys roll around in because it makes you feel better. You have people. I need association. I have to have association. What am I going to do without people, right? You Watchtower fags and cowards. All you Protestant Catholics and Orthodox fags and cowards. Did the master have people? You know what you need? You need a swift kick in your asses. You need to stop listening to these pagans and follow what is written, not your stupid interpretations. Okay, you have an open challenge. Anytime. I don't need prep for you fags. You guys are stupid. And Sam knows I'll show that anytime. Does the Bible explicitly teach the Trinity? You take the affirmative. I take the negative. If you want to say, hey, we don't claim that, it's implied, that's an interpretation. So you're using an interpretation that's not an interpretation in what is written against what is written or over it before it, right? Because it's not in what is written. You're just saying it's there and telling us if we don't see that it's there, even though it's not there, we're heretics. That's what you guys have done. You've created all this bullshit for the dragon and used it to brand us as heretics. You see what these weak fags are doing right now with Sam? How he's trying to say, oh, I'm gonna defend David Wood. Yeah, I'm gonna defend David Wood and his sodomy that he didn't need to bring up for any reason while he's trying to expose a fat pig. But he did it anyway because he's stupid. All right, so Sam, he's so good at getting these idiots to take him back, right? Oh, he knows they love to suck his dysfunctional dick. These fags and pigs have covered for this lame a long time. They've been blaspheming people a long time. They've been interfering with marriages and damaging people a long time. And it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? Well, we punch back. We tell them, no, you guys are whack. You don't read the Bible. You're beyond what is written. It's over. This game's over. You guys are stupid. Ha! You don't even know what the Bible teaches, and you interpret it in light of Platonism. Congratulations on your Eastern Orthodox Bible. Finally got one that doesn't even agree with itself, huh? Nice canon you have there. Okay, so everybody, just like with Hebrews 11:26, right? When God Logic blew that, lied to a cosmic skeptic, and that's Sam's argument, by the way. Sam's the one that gave him that stupid argument. And these idiots use it. That's not what Hebrews 11:26 says, idiot. That's not Moses fearing the Christ, you idiot. You guys are so stupid. And all you other dickheads follow these fags because you feel sorry for them. They look so nice. You want nice? Go to Watchtower. You got niceness on display everywhere. Guess what? It doesn't mean jack shit. You got the truth? You following liars? You are. You're following proven liars and pagans. You're surrounded by icons and statues and pagans. You're following a false god. You don't even understand angels. You don't even understand text criticism. You don't even know that the text you're using to destroy a Unitarian idiot is probably not even part of the canon that most Christians have been using. Either way, let's go to another text. You know, we talk about 1 Corinthians 8, right? We're going to wrap up this Trinity discussion here. I'll look at some questions, but I got one more I want to point out. To smash Fat Boy Sam and all his pagan pigs who can't figure out 1 Corinthians 8:6. Hey, Sam. I've noticed you try to use this whole idea of how dia, the preposition in Greek, that can mean agency, either passive or active. You know how someone's using an agent? The active part is being done to the intermediate, or how the intermediate agent can be active. Something I have written about and cited grammars and lexicons over for 30 years, you know. Of course, Fat Sam and his idiots somehow think that dia, in an active sense, because it's used of God in texts like, you know, Hebrews 2:10, and in Romans, where it says God is the one by whom and from whom and for whom. So it uses dia in an active sense there. But that's, again, that doesn't mean ek, you idiot. That's not out of. That's just an active intermediary. How does that apply to God? Well, because everything comes out of him. 1 Corinthians 8:6, another text we'll get to in a moment. And just like Jesus said, John 5:19, right. The Son only does what he sees the Father doing. Exactly. So it comes out of the Father, and the Father does something with what he creates. Then the Son, wisdom of Proverbs 8, just like is described in detail as a master worker for God, puts it together. Right? He learns. He's not God, because you guys are liars. So he's God's first created son. That is obvious. There is no meaning of non-creation or non-temporality in any of the terms used to describe Jesus. You guys are pigs and liars. And that's Philo giving you that whole, we don't worship a creation thing. You guys are stupid. Okay, follow the Bible. And even Philo doesn't agree with you. But that's where you're getting all this stuff from. The Bible doesn't make these issues. The Bible literally has all of creation worshiping a created, killed man in Revelation 5. That's a resurrected man that's worshiped. The lamb that was slaughtered, you idiots. You guys have no concept of agency, representation, the image of God, and how it is okay to worship the image of God that he gave. That's not an idol, you fags, you blasphemous pigs. So tired of repeating myself to these idiots. Can't read jack shit. So we got fag boy Sam and his idiots saying dia in an active sense. Well, 1 Corinthians 8:6, out of the Father, through the Son, same thing, right? Same thing. Lord God, same thing. No, fag. One is made Lord, the other one makes him Lord, and no one makes the one who makes him Lord God or Lord. Get it now? Exactly. Try reading Philippians 2 or Acts 2 or almost anything will do for you. And then when it comes to dia and ek, that's not the same thing, stupid. Dia in an active sense is not ek. Why don't you do a little study instead of showing how dumb you are? You want to see ek? You want to see dia used with ek and not 1 Corinthians 8:6, but like right next to it by the same author that shows what it means? Okay, let's do it. 1 Corinthians. Let's go to finish off our Trinity section. We're going to get to Watchtower. Good to see you all. 1 Corinthians 11. I'll be back this Sunday. Talk about the existence of God, Christian stuff. We're going to pound these pagans. Don't fall for their bullshit. These are fags and queers. They literally spend their time sucking a fat, masturbating pig's dysfunctional dick. Okay? And then when he turns on them, then they turn on him until he comes back to them and shoves his little pee-pee in their face. Like he did, like reasoned answers, right? One real quick thing on Sam. We did find out recently, didn't we? Compliments of reasoned answers. That this thing I brought up before about Sam coming out of the bathroom naked when he was with another Christian man, right? Fag. Apparently, according to reasoned answers, who knows the person, and the person was on this show, apparently that's not all that happened. Our little fag boy leaped over a bed the guy was in while naked with his balls dangling over the guy's face. The guy's like, whoa, right? What are those marbles in that little pencil, right? What, are you writing me a letter? What's going on, Sam? Sam's like, oh, I just got to reach some Twinkies, you know? Sorry, you're just in my way laying on the bed. Oh, you in? Oh, okay, no, I was just reaching over the bed. Right? That's how these fags are. They always they do a little stupid thing to test you out, right? One, to see if the guy would lick his nuts, right? His little marbles, right? Fag. These guys are queers, everyone. Everything I'm saying is true. We got eyewitnesses, and Sam's verified it. He tried to blame his Assyrian heritage, right? He was a pervert. Verse 12, check this out. This is the end of your little 1 Corinthians 8:6 insanity, you idiot. Not only does Dorkwad not understand dia with the active sense when it's used of God, this guy's a clown, right? Look right here. So we're in 1 Corinthians 11:12, right? It's like just right after, not long after the text we're all thinking about. 1 Corinthians 8:6, right? All out of the Father, all through the Son, right? There is no creation ex nihilo. Right there, once again, we have these people lying about the God of the Bible. Defying science, right? Defying God's own laws that we can use to show he exists. These idiot pagan fags are telling us everything's created out of nothing. Even these Aryan idiots, they're just as stupid. No, you idiots, that's not possible, okay? What's possible is exactly what the Bible actually says. And you dorks, for your fake God, are putting the Bible at odds with science, just like with you flat earth idiots. 1 Corinthians 11:12, just as, listen, fatso, the woman out of man. And where'd that happen? How is the woman out of man? Genesis, right? God took one of Adam's ribs and built it into a woman. The woman was taken out of man. There is no creation ex nihilo for anything, you idiots. It's all out of God, as I'm going to show you again right now. It's not even scientifically possible. So you guys are finished. Everybody, they're finished. You guys, they're finished. Okay, you get them in a debate, all you got to do is say, look, you're contradicting provable science, scientific laws. These aren't theories, you fags. You guys are contradicting all known evidence that happens all the time in every way. There is no creation ex nihilo. There's just your fake God and the bullshit you use to prop it up. Look, woman is out of the man. So also, man is through the woman. How does that happen? Because it takes a man like Adam to impregnate, to act upon Eve. She receives his seed and carries the child to birth. This is what happens by analogy with God and Jesus. It's the exact same terms, used very closely together and describing the same thing. Things that are out of something and things that are through something. Oh, and look at what it says next. Man is through the woman, but all things, ta panta. 1 Corinthians 8:6, idiots. Out of the God. Oh, that sounds familiar. That sounds like what he just said. One God the Father, out of whom tapanta. Yeah, he just said that. And here he is again, saying the exact same thing and giving you idiots an analogy that you're too stupid to see anyway. That shows you what he's talking about. Yeah. Through and out of aren't the same thing. Through in an active or passive sense is not out of. And guess what? Out of is never. Like double donut, never. Used of the Son. Right. Because he has to watch the Father do something first, dum-dums. And then he does it. It's temporally distinct. He's not the same. He's not in the same nature. No, your God is a fake God. You're just figuring that out though, right? Okay, good. Keep working on it. So everybody, this game is over. In every way you can think of, these guys are stupid and liars. We're just the minority. They're just the weeds that keep hiding us. They're all these pagans that develop this big fake system. This fake wheat field that they built over us to hide us and persecute us. Just like Sam has been able to use himself to make others feel sorry for him, even though he's a pig-faced fatso and a liar. That's what the dragon does as a lamb. That's how he got them to compromise their God at Nicaea and elsewhere. See, he's a liar. He goes beyond what's written. Or if he uses what's written, he doesn't use all of what's written. Because what he's actually telling you isn't what's written. It's not even an interpretation in what's written. It's outside of what is written. And therefore, it shows they have no lineage. With the apostles, we do. We go based on what's written. They don't. They lie, use statues and icons. We don't. We know the divine name and the best available evidence, and we use it to establish our doctrine. They don't. You see? You understand now? Let's keep going, right? We got all pumped up. These guys are gone, right? It's so over for these perverts and fags. I'm just so happy to know that I confronted Sam the way I did before his woman punching in the face while he's a Christian and after he got rid of her first husband or man just so he could take it over and rape her. You fag, you pig. How dare you get up here and read from that Bible? How dare you do these things? How dare David protected you all those years for his own benefit to use you for his fake God because he's too much of a bitch to do it on his own? No. So just like Dr. White, he had to bring on this fat cow with no qualifications or reasons, but he's a kook. He's always been a pig. And you unleash this fag upon us, who blasphemes our Father daily, blasphemes the Son daily, blasphemes the Holy Spirit daily, attacks you guys daily, and you run back and suck his dick. How about that? I'm so glad I used the last 5 months to better myself away from you pigs. And I'm here now just to remind you, you're not getting away with anything. You understand? It's only getting worse for all of you now and better for us. We're the Christian witnesses of Jah. You are the pagans. You're the fake Christians. You're the dragon church. Enjoy it while it lasts. All right. So now let's pass to the final part of our discussion. Let me check the chat though. Let's see if you guys have any questions on the Trinity before I move to Watchtower. What are we? We've been going 2 hours. Pumped up. You guys wanted it? You got it. Let's go. 13 above 9? 13 above 9. Nice. I think it was just 13 above before, right? Good to see you, buddy. Let me just, a little drink. I'm pumped up from these fags and pigs who think they know what they're talking about. It's so funny to me. The only one who really knows what they're facing and what's going to happen to them when I get a hold of these fags is Sam. He's the only one who really understands, because even though he lies and pretends he's not interested, he's more interested in me than anybody else. This is where he's getting most of his stuff, because he knows I'm the biggest threat and always have been to this fake God. But he's so insecure and butthurt over giving me credit. He'll give me credit, but when I attack him, then of course he backs off because he's a pig. I'm not here for his opinion or credit. I don't give a shit about him. He's a blasphemer. I'm here for the Father. If you're not here for the Father, you shouldn't be here. Okay? Get back to Watchtower. Get back to these icons and pigs. No, I'm here for you guys. I'm here for the few. I'm not here for the many. No. I'm not here for the many. Who are you? Are you here for the many or for the few? Because it says only a few are going to make it. Whereas many of you aren't. You see? So you're going to have to suffer with me. Yeah, you're going to have to be alone a little bit. And I'm not so alone. Just for a little bit. And you might not be as alone. Even if it's a little bit. You're going to have to suffer. You understand? This is not going to be easy for you. If you're in Watchtower and you're trying to figure out what to do, it's real simple. Follow what's written. Follow the truth. Everything beyond that, anything that's an interpretation, you don't have to believe that. You can if you want. You don't have to believe that. You're not an apostate. You're not a bad person because you only accept what's written. Don't forget that. I don't care how many people are telling you you are. You are not. Okay, this is your test. This is your challenge. I think many of you will do well, but it will be a challenge. You're going to suffer. You're going to have people doubting you. You're going to have people saying things that are not true. And the only thing the Father wants to know is who's going to believe the lie? Who's going to find out the truth? And who's going to believe the lie? That's what he wants to know. Because I can tell you this, he hates lies. You know who invented the lie. The lie is your enemy. That's what's killing us. Lies. That's why I cut everything down that's a must to 3 things that no one can say are lies. They're word for word. And yet they still say the first 2 are lies. That's how evil they are. You know, when you Trinitarians realize that Sam hasn't led anyone to Jesus. Not one person. That's when you're going to realize how much damage he's done. I don't think any of you have any idea how much damage he's done. Maybe Kelly Powers has an idea of what you guys are facing. I think you guys waited too long. You didn't see the danger. White waited too long. You had the danger inside you. And you were thinking about people like me? Yeah, well, that's a danger because of your false doctrine. He's destroying your whole group. Sam is the biggest threat you all face. All of you. Even you Catholics. Just not as obvious yet. It will be, though. He's a pig and a fatso. I can't believe you guys are this stupid. The Greek pagans have been humiliated. I told you he'd turn on you. And that's exactly what he did. And many of you still suck his dick. You guys are stupid. You're not Christian in any way, shape, or form if you support that pig like most of you did and do. Let's see what you got here. Looks like we got some good people here. We got some actual people who understand the seriousness of what we're talking about, right? This isn't a situation where we can just jerk off and hope these people are going to think, we're not a problem. Okay, these are not good people. They're a real serious problem. So, in any case, I hope that the stream has been pretty continuous. I saw that my actual YouTube live feed was a little lagging, so I brought it up. Hopefully that didn't move past any part of the show for you, but I'm recording it all. So if I have to re-upload it, I will. Either way, let's get to the Watchtower. Okay, let's talk about Watchtower for a minute. Watchtower and end times, right? So you guys understand, if you're in Watchtower, if you're in any way associated with Watchtower and you're trying to figure out what to do, it's a tough one, right? It's tough for all of these groups. It's tough for all of you, right? Of course, I'm hammering away at the pigs and fags, right? We got a lot of YouTube people who are full of shit, okay? They shouldn't be doing this. They're liars. They defame our God. They defame our Messiah. They defame me, and they promote a pig who blasphemes God daily. I'm going to destroy this fat pig, and I'm going to wipe out his false doctrine, his fake God. I don't care if you're behind me or not. I'm not here for you. You should be here for other people, not looking at me. What, you can't read? What is it you don't understand? Like these idiots who believe in the Trinity. Are you that stupid? So if you're in Watchtower, right, it's a little different, because Watchtower doesn't teach you that reading the Bible is enough for you. You got to read, you got to follow their beliefs, right? The very first thing you have to do if you're in Watchtower and you're trying to figure out how to handle this. So you see the problems, you want out, but you can't really deal with it, right? You got your family there, you got all these people there, and you're trying to figure out the best way to go forward with your life, but you don't want to ruin your family relationships, right? I understand that. That's also what a lot of other people have to deal with. Now, in Watchtower, it is a lot more difficult, okay? It's more difficult than most of these other groups. Maybe Mormons and someone like that are a little similar. Like they'll kind of cut you off or shun you in a similar way. And so many people are connected by family in ways that when you leave them, there's definitely a major, what do I want to say here? Backlash, So with Watchtower, right, I had to lose everybody, right? So I can only be so sympathetic for you. Yes, I understand. You've all read those texts that say he has not left father, daughter, sister, mother, brother, for my sake, and will not get tenfold, right? Or however many morefold. And no one can separate us from Christ's love, not height, nor depth, nor breadth, nor width, nothing, right? Principalities, nor powers. Okay, that's how I feel. I didn't feel that way in Watchtower. You're not going to feel that way until you leave Watchtower. This is going to be the most this is where, because what's going to happen is, remember I told you earlier, you're going to have to suffer. This is going to be your most obvious sacrifice for God and Jesus. Rejecting these false teachers that have trapped you into their group and family and friends in a way that's going to cost you you're going to have to suffer. It's going to cost you pain. It might cost you money, right? A job, people, they don't like you anymore. You're going to find out real fast when you leave Watchtower. The love you think they have, that's all a lie. That's just all fake. They only love you if you agree with their teachings, most of which are whacked out of control, obviously false, and change all the time. It's not just the core doctrine, right? People will lie to you in Watchtower to get you to go and die with them. They're the worst people. The people that try to get you to stay in Watchtower, some may be just naive, right? So don't hold it against them like they're evil. Some may just really think you're leaving Jehovah. That's what they make you do. They make you think they're Jehovah. So if you leave the organization, you leave in Jehovah or Jesus, right? They're really screwed up people. The people at the top, they know what they're doing. The people now. And it's not the same people that were here before, okay? This is another mistake Watchtower people make. They see it as a monolith. They really do. It's weird. They just can't conceive that anyone would they're weird. They really are, because they have beliefs that are just so stupid that, like, these guys can't fall away. They literally think that there's no way they could teach them what isn't true. And yet they do, right? They do it all the time. And that's proven by their change of things that they taught before that they required as if they were true. So it's insanity. They will destroy your family. Your relationship with your family, if you leave Watchtower over 1914, the chronology that's clearly wrong and has nothing to do with Daniel 4 or any other part of the Bible. If you don't believe in 1914, the birth of the kingdom in 1914, even though 1 Corinthians 15:25 says he must rule as king until all his enemies are put beneath his feet. I have a video on it. Shows very clearly he's been ruling since first century and he was resurrected. And he's going to rule until all enemies are put beneath his feet. The last one being death. That's the end of the 1,000 years, game over. Okay, so we know they're wrong. It's obvious, just like Trinity. So, they're lying to you. They're deceiving you to try to take advantage of you and all these people and make a ton of money, which they're doing. This is what it's all about. All these people. It's always about power and control and money. All of them. If they're not like me, where they're just giving you free stuff all the time, that's what it's about. It's a business. Okay? If you're too stupid to see that, I can't help you. Maybe you're new. I understand that. New people get a little bit of a pass, right? If you're new with a lot of these groups, or you're born into them. I was born into Watchtower. Most of these people weren't born into Sam, right? They're born out of his rear end, but they choose to follow this fat, blasphemous pig. Okay, a lot of us were born into different groups that we found out were lying to us. They taught some things that were true. We learned a lot there, but we couldn't accept these lies. Okay, we're not here for just partial truth and lies that hurt people and promote your authority and power and money. So they'll destroy, I mean wreck, like you won't have it anymore, okay? One day, you have a happy family and everybody loves each other. The next day, when you say, I don't believe 1914, 1919, or you're appointed as the faithful slave anymore, you won't have that family. It's gone. Like the way Jesus gave up the Mar Faith AU, gone, right? You don't have it anymore. Okay. That's going to be hard. And if you can do it, if you can hold on, as unfortunate as it is to have to do it, it could be worse. But God will count this for you as worse if you can get through it. Maybe you'll have to deal with worse, but this will be enough for him and the Son to see you want out of it and you want them and you're tired of the lies. You make that sacrifice. You just go up to the people you love and you care for, you know are going to be affected and they're not going to like this. You say, listen, I can't do this anymore. I love Jehovah. I love Jesus. I love the golden rule. I love you. I think Watchtower's lying. And they're trying to tell us to believe things that are clearly not true so they benefit and we don't. I can't do it anymore. And if that's not good enough for you, if you think I'm a bad person, I'm an apostate, and I'm going to die at Gehenna because I think these proven liars are actually lying, and I can show it to you, but you don't want to see it, and I still believe the things that are clearly true and have never changed, and you don't need the Watchtower to believe it, if that's not good enough for you, and you don't love me anymore, then you never loved me in the first place. Because love never fails. And it sure as hell isn't going to fail because you decided to stand up to Watchtower. Right? You kidding me? Or you decided to reject the Trinity. Yeah, find out how many of these people love you then. Or because you reject their stupid icons and statues that you should break in half and set fire to. Blasphemous pigs. How dare you? And you ask Mary to go to war for you, to intercede on behalf of your wars? You know, everybody, this is the dragon, you understand. He's very clever. He's very good. You think you could beat the dragon at lying? No, you can't. You can only beat him with the truth, and that is what is written. It says, do not go beyond what is written in the New Testament. Okay, we all know this text. We can pull it up right now. You can search it yourself. We all know this text. It's right there. I'll get it right now. So there is no reason to go beyond what is written. You don't need to interpret these things and then use your not written interpretation as if it is written when it's not. And you know it. So why is it that we can absolutely use what is written and you can't? Why is that? Why do you guys have to have all this other stuff? How come Jesus can constantly say in response to the devil, what is written? And that's enough. And yet when we do that, it's not. Why isn't that enough for you pagans? Because you're liars, that's why. And you've been deceived by the dragon, telling people lies, that we need to follow all your traditions. You know who that sounds like? Who in the New Testament tells us we need to follow their traditions or we get rejected? Who is it that Jesus accuses of putting traditions, not what's written, what is said, ahead of what is written? Who is that? It's the false teachers and liars, is it not? It is. So why is it that we have the same people today acting in many of the same ways and similarly using their traditions that aren't in what is written to condemn people? How interesting. I wonder why that's a parallel and doesn't fit us. We must be wrong, right? It's the only answer I can come up with. 1 Corinthians 4:6. We're getting ready to wind it up, everybody. Where are we? Well, we're at about 2.5 hours. We can go about a half hour more. Let's try to keep it at 3 hours. 1 Corinthians 4:6. Is it 4:6? Yeah. Sometimes it's good to just remind ourselves, isn't it? Yeah, oral's good. We know the text, right? We need to be living this stuff. You don't need to keep reading this. You already know it. They didn't really need to have all these copies these liars claim. They knew it. They could speak it. Look at how they handled it here. These things, I'm sorry. Let me bring you guys up. Right here. 1 Corinthians 4:6. These things now, brothers, I have applied to myself and Apollos on account of you, so that in us you may learn. Okay, we got Paul here applying something to himself and to Apollos, right? Excuse me. Apologize. Applying something to himself and to Apollos. And he says, that you may learn not beyond what has been written, that not one for one you may be puffed up over the other. Exactly like they're doing today. They have these fragmented groups, this schism, this 1,000-year schism, right? Your house is destroyed. Jesus said a house divided against itself can't stand. You're destroyed. You're not coming back. It's over. Fat Sam told PBD and millions of people, these are the two true churches. These obviously pagan, non-Protestant churches. You're going to listen to that pig? That would be the first two I eliminated if I heard him say that. Not to mention the fact they're puffed up one over the other. They're both beyond what is written, beyond anything you can imagine of any group. They're the worst. This fat-ass pig and liar picked the worst. Because he's the dragon. Have you figured that out yet? He's being used by the dragon. He's a demonic, blasphemous pig. Which is exactly what the dragon loves. Look at what the text says about them. These are pigs. They're beyond what is written. They don't follow Paul. They don't follow Apollos. They don't learn. They are beyond what is written. They are puffed up against each other. They're liars. And you have all the signs and evidence you need to identify them. None of this has changed in 2,000 years. It's not going to change forever. So there's no excuse for you not to be able to identify these liars and satanic people and groups. That doesn't mean they're all bad and wicked and evil people. We have plenty of examples in the New Testament of people in the Jewish system that was rejected that still were not like that. You had Nicodemus, you had the widow with 2 coins. We will let God decide who is who and who gets salvation and who's condemned. The fact is, the dragon is dressed as a lamb. He's out here deceiving everybody with Christianity. He's been using Constantine and all that paganism and everything else before and after it, Middle Platonism, to lie about the God of the Bible, to lie about God's name, the name of God that they don't even believe in, to lie about the Messiah, and to set up all these fake groups to deceive people. And yet the Messiah over and over shows you how to defeat them. What is written? I follow the master. I go with what is written. That's why I put no further burden on any of you than 1, 2, or 3, God, Jesus, and you and me. And after that, we decide among ourselves, consistent with those 3, what else we will believe. If someone doesn't sin against you directly, shut your mouth. No one asked you, and no one sinned against you. You should be forgiving everybody because that's what you need more than anybody. If someone sins against you, you go to that person. And you say, hey, what's going on here? Why'd you do that to me? They don't listen. You take another person. Same conversation. If they don't listen, you take all the Christians in that area and you go have the same conversation. And then everybody chooses together how to handle that person, whether they believe you or him, and they act accordingly. It's simple. It always has been. If you follow what is written. In that case, Matthew 18. Let me take a look at you guys here. We're going to wrap it up. I hope I've given you some things to think about with Watchtower. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to deal with people who are weak, who don't give 2 shits about what you do. They just want you to die with them. And if you're like Sam, you're butthurt and so insecure over your beliefs, you have to run around and persecute everybody and break up their marriages and punch them in the face and rape them just to get them to do what you want to do. If you're like Watchtower, you destroy families. You lie to people nonstop So they keep giving you your money and your time and your loyalty, and you don't follow the Lamb where he goes. You're following these proven liars wherever they go. That's not the Lamb. Otherwise, it would be written. Stop following the dragon, the fake lamb. He's a fake. Everything he does is fake. You should be able to see that if you're a Christian. Compare with what is written. You can't see that, you better pray. You can't act on what you know is true, you better pray. You can't suffer for righteousness' sake, you better pray. Ask for courage, ask for strength, ask for wisdom, ask for knowledge and humility and grace. Ask that God will help you to survive people who don't love you and who will leave you the moment you tell them you don't believe lies anymore. You believe in the truth. You still love them. No lies anymore. See how much they love you then. Stop giving them your money. Stop going to their churches and groups. Have your own group. Right? Have one other person or just you. Let me tell you something. I do all kinds of things and I get a ton done. And I'm just one. And yes, now I'm growing and I have more people and I talk to people all the time and I have people who are learning all the time with me directly. That's the best. There's nothing like that. It took me a long time. You're not going to get everything you want right now. That's what they give you, right? That's what you get in Watchtower. That's what you get in this group. Immediate, just boom, everything. And lies. So be more patient. Suffer for righteousness' sake, right? What happens when you do that? You're building up your treasure in heaven. Don't you understand that? No, we're not here to just suffer for no reason. We're not gluttons for punishment. But you're going to have to suffer because this isn't our time. This isn't our world. These aren't our people. The dragon is all around us, and your test will be unique to you. Some will be, what does Jesus say in Revelation 1-3? Some he's going to keep throwing in prison. Some he's going to persecute. You're going to have to be faithful. You're going to keep throwing all these things at you. You be faithful. That's your test right there. You beat that. You pass that. Crown of life. See, I've already done what I need to do. I've already helped bring forth more of the worship of the one God, Jah, and the truth about his son, the only begotten one, and the rule they gave us to live by, and the text that we have. I've stood up for all of it. I've helped to disassociate all of it from these liars and fags. And I've given you all a model that you can use anywhere, anytime, with helps, right? Articles, books, websites, free, or you can pay. If you can't afford it, I'll give it to you. If you can afford it, you should pay and not be a cheap bitch. If I had to pay, you pay. If I get it for free, you get it for free. It's real simple. So you should be able to do this. It will be hard. Oh, well, right? What else are you going to do? Just smile with a bunch of liars until it gets really hard and there's no recovery? Do the hard now, like a workout. You're just starting. It gets easier, and then you don't have to collapse from overeating junk food and fat, like a lot of people we know. Don't judge others. We're just normal people. You don't talk like me, I don't talk like you. Am I using illegal words? Are the words I'm using that are harsh in the Bible and it says don't use those specific words to these wolves and pigs? No. You're interpreting again, aren't you? And if your interpretation doesn't match mine, guess what? We each get to decide. Because guess what? Our decisions are what are going to matter to the master. And why we made them at the time we did to the people we did. Not your opinion outside of all of that. That's not going to matter. That's just going to show you're a bitch who can't focus on yourself, and you'll bring that very judgment on you. That's a trinity of destruction, like the ones they believe in. Don't do it. You're supposed to be forgiving and understanding. If someone doesn't sin against you, shut your mouth. Support them. Are they standing up for God? Are they breaking any laws? Are they lying about the truth in any way that's obvious? You support that person. Are they standing up to proven liars and pigs? And is everything they're saying, even if harsh, true? You don't support that person. When you need that support, and you will, no one's going to be there for you. And then what? You're going to have to do what I did and do it anyway with no one helping you. And I'm trying to keep you from that. That's hard. That's almost too hard. But if you want to try it, go for it. Either way, I'm going to keep doing hard. I got all kinds of stuff going on, like I told you, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep striving. I'm going to keep growing. I'm becoming the best servant of Jah I possibly can. And I'm going to keep defeating all this false doctrine. I'm going to keep exposing these liars, pigs, and fatzos. And it may not be the way that you have to or even will do. We're not all the same. We're parts of a body. You're supposed to do one thing, I'm supposed to do another. And some will do some of the same things and some will do others. If you don't understand that, if you haven't fully understood what it means to be a part of a Christian body yet, join me this Sunday. I'll give you more time and information you should already know very well if you're a long-standing Christian. If you're new, like first, maybe, it takes a while to get through the whole Bible and really understand all these things, especially even today with information. You got all these groups, voices, right, competing for you. I'll say 5 years. If you've been studying the Bible seriously, and maybe you know a little about it, you knew it, kind of lightly knew about it, but if you've been studying for 5 years pretty seriously, and you still can't stand up for the truth and get behind those who do, based on what is written, not traditions that are not written, I don't know what to tell you. There's a problem, right? Remember John 6. Father draws a lot of people. They all come to the Son. And then they hear the Son. And they hear a lot of good things. They start to like it. They start to believe. And then he says, you got to eat my flesh and drink my blood. But instead of finding out what he meant, they showed they didn't have much belief in their blood, did they? And that's why he says what he says. Who's going to find out what's really happening? Who's going to leave when things get tough? Who's going to stay after you've been drawn by the Father? Or who's going to listen to a bunch of idiots who don't even follow what's written? And who venerate statues, icons, and ask for Jesus' human mother to intercede for them on their wars and false doctrine. I have a lot of hope that many of you will overcome. I do. I believe I am among conquerors, some of you. But I also am among cowards. I will send you forth among people who will persecute you, right? Serpents. You have to be wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove. If they don't sin against you, if you're not breaking a law, if you're not doing it against anything written that doesn't require a non-written interpretation, shut up. Shut your mouth. We're out here doing enough already that's difficult, and we don't have the support that these pagans do. We can barely get some of you to like a video, but I don't do it for that. I notice it. I see what we have. Fortunately, there's a lot more going on that you don't see, that we have. So all of you should try to become stronger. Stop listening to these lames. A few of them are okay, and I don't know. I think most of them are lame. And they can't even stand up to a dickless fag who lies all the time. I think you'd be better on your own time with fewer people. Fewer people, fewer lies. Once you can trust them, once you know they're not going to judge you unnecessarily, they're not going to stab you in the back. All right. You can start adding one at a time. Maybe you have one like that already and you're both of the same mind. Okay. We'll see. Maybe some people leave with you, they leave Watchtower, they start, right? They got a new thing, they're pumped up, right? What does it say? They're not the right seed. They grow real fast. They don't have a root. They leave Watchtower, they start partaking, but they don't really have root. It's not over yet. That's one step. That's a big step. That's going to tell you who's willing to take that step with you. But then you also have to maintain. It's not easy after that, even with other people. You got to believe in the truth. You got to not put your trust in numbers. It's like an old war strategy, right? People love to put their faith in numbers. The comfort of belonging. Even though it says, few find the road to life. Many people are on this big, broad road to death. All these people rejected Jesus and his followers because of other people who were liars. All these people out here, right? They follow all these things. They follow the numbers. It's hard for people to be without numbers, huh? To not have this big group. When all you're responsible for is yourself and people right around you. You are not responsible for people on another part of this planet. If you choose to involve yourself with them, great. I hope you can handle it. You're responsible for you and your immediate surroundings. That's it. Your neighbor. If you can do more, great. Can you do your neighbor? Your family? Why do you have to go beyond that? Why are we all out way beyond that? That's why you don't feel satisfied. That's why you feel so alone. You're not with the people you're actually with, around, or in your home. Because you're a coward. You're not willing to stand up and just say, hey, let's do this. Let's just meet as often as you can. Let's not make it hard here. What did the first Christians do according to Pliny? They met early if they could. They prayed, they sang, and they agreed not to do certain immoral things. That sounds pretty simple. Can you do that? Why do you have to make it harder on yourselves? Did the Father say that? The Son said his load is light. His yoke is kindly. Why are you guys adding all these burdens? Why do you guys need to study so much when you already read it? Why don't you just make an agreement without having to read anything that you're going to follow what you read? Yeah, you're actually going to do what you said you believe. How about that? And you partake. Bread, wine, real quick, out of there. Or you do the morning, you do the bread and wine in the evening. There's all kinds of ways. You can do it once a week, once a day, whatever your circumstances. This is not hard. It's only hard because we make it hard. And we need numbers, right? People, I need association. No, you don't. You're weak. You need strength. Sun Tzu, an old war general, that all these idiot fag, gang, and pagan dork groups, these stupid, pathetic idiot groups who think they're special when they're just a bunch of special ed fags. They run around carrying copies of Sun Tzu to try to fag crime each other and commit all this stupidity because they're too weak and lame-brained to do something right. So they run to the darkness thinking Sun Tzu, this famous war general, is going to help them. Just like you people with the Bible that you never follow, they do the same thing. They're stupid. What does Sun Tzu say? Numbers. Having a numerical advantage does not matter. And that's been proven time and time again. Yet these stupid idiots, whether they're religious or criminal fags, can carry around a copy of a book that tells them what to do to win a war. And yet every one of them fail to follow what he says. And they get their asses blown off by far fewer numbers every time. And that's what's going to happen this time. So I'm looking for the few. I'm looking for the proud. I'm looking for the Marines. No, I'm kidding. The spiritual Marines, right? Captain America Marines, right, Kelly? We can do this. We need the Protestants to get out of this paganism. Is it going to happen? We'll see. They're getting a good dose of the paganism now, right? The Orthodox and Catholic pagans trying to raid their flocks. And the collapse. You still haven't gotten away from this dragon. Do that. Join me and other Christians who stay with what is written. A created Jesus, the first created being, is just fine. There is nothing wrong with him. The fact that you follow Philo's language and apply it to him in these ways that somehow prevent you from acknowledging him as God or as the Son of God in a way that's acceptable for what he did is crazy. The fact that you guys look down on his temporality is crazy. You're just making shit up. You're crazy. So let them go. You'll suffer too, you Protestants. You give up on the Trinity. You give up on all this paganism. You come with me. You follow what's written. It costs you nothing. And it'll cost you everything. And then you'll gain everything. All you have to do is follow what's written. Let go of paganism. Let go of these fags and liars. Stop falling for the lies of the dragon. I hope you guys had a good time. I said everything I need to say today, but I have a lot more to say on other days. Hey, I stayed long enough for Everett Commodore to show up though, didn't I? And that's a good thing. We got George Lopez too. We got a lot of you. I'm glad to see you. I know you probably don't like everything I always say, but I probably don't like everything you say. And I'm not here to like everything you say or to say everything you like. I'm here to stay in the light. And when I fail, get my ass back in it. And when I hear these pigs, fatzos, and liars defaming my God and my belief and my religion and dorking out over fags and pigs, not holding them accountable. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Yeah, I'm like Paul. I'm going to stand up to them and I'm going to condemn them to their face. And then I'm going to get back here to the right place and we're going to do our part too. I don't like doing that. I don't like arguing with any of these people. I never did. I wished I never had to. There's a lot more I'd prefer to do. I just don't enjoy it. I do it. It's amazing. I don't enjoy it. I don't. I do it because I have to. I do it because I don't yet see enough people doing it. I know you will. They just haven't yet. And they didn't before. That's why I had to do it. Everyone has to do it when someone else doesn't do what they're supposed to do or should do. And so some are just that person. And I think a lot of you are that person too in your own way. And so let's all follow the way, the truth, and the life, the Messiah. That's the only one that matters. He takes us to the Father. Any deviation off that path, let it go. Don't get off the path. It's going to be hard because people are going to try to pull you off it. You just tell them no. You're on the right path and you hope they'll come too. And then go. We've wasted enough time with people who don't believe. If they don't believe, let them go. What does the Bible say? We'll talk about more Sunday. I planted. This is the last point. We're done. Apollos watered. Who makes it grow? Everyone right now who's listening to me, I want you to put in the chat one word. I planted. Apollos watered. Who makes it grow? One word. And of course, we know that God has appointed Jesus in many ways for things that are unique to him, right? I heard Sam the other day, so stupid, talking about Acts 7 and the prayer of Stephen. how Stephen asked for him to receive his spirit. He tried to parallel that with the Old Testament and the text from about Jesus, the prophecy of Jesus, where he says, Lord, into your hands I entrust my spirit in the Old Testament. I mean, how stupid are these people, everybody? Like they read John 5 and then they totally forget it, right? John 5 literally says the Father judges no one from that point forward, you stupid fag. He's committed all of it to the Son, and the Son makes alive those whom he wants to, not the Father anymore. He stopped with the Son. You're so stupid and pathetic. You just can't help but lie, can you, you pig? So who else is Stephen going to ask to do it? The only one who has the authority until the end of 1,000 years when he gives it back to the Father so God can be all things to everyone is the Son. And he's at the right hand of God, you idiot. Showing that God is an actual person, separate from the Son, a being, God. It's not talking about the Father. There is no Trinity. Nothing in the Bible explicitly teaches the Trinity, and the fact that you guys are all refusing my challenge proves it. You're condemning us over your interpretation, which isn't written. Thank you very much. Glad that you confirmed it. With that having been said, yeah, let's just get rid of the Arian person who doesn't listen and who continues to promote a lie about God creating ex nihilo, disprovable by science. When you change your mind and start following the truth and stop wasting my time with your lies, Arian, you can come back. Until then, stop wasting our time with your stupidness. You contributed nothing. Well, we all got pumped up, right? We are moving forward. You stay with Arianism, another heresy and lie. You go argue with the Trinitarian pagans. Why don't you guys spiritually sodomize each other with your lies and your inability to even adopt what's scientifically provable and shows you're believing in a fake God, whether you're an Arian or a Trinitarian. Neither one of you had any business being at that pagan council with a pagan emperor, letting him choose a key term for a new fake God, while he's honoring himself with gigantic statues and arches honoring false gods. You guys are crazy. And the facts are clear. And we've done good work here. And for all of you who are like me and who are ready to follow Christianity to the end, praising Jah like Revelation says will be done at the end, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going. They're going to drop. Keep going. I will see you Sunday as we keep going for more from the Christian Witnesses of Jah live discussion. God